If soundbars have one job, it's to deliver deep bass. That's the Achilles heel of every single big screen TV there is. In that sense, the Devialet Dione does its job admirably, delivering lots of bass when needed. But it does more than that. It also delivers a musicality that many surround sound systems lack. For The Absolute Sound, I'm John Quain.
Just a brief interruption, esteemed viewers. If you enjoy our videos, you might also like our other work for audiophiles and music lovers: written equipment reviews, editor's choice ratings, product news, and music reviews. Get the latest each week with a free subscription to our email newsletters. A link is in the description.
Soundbars are by design a compromise. They're limited by their compact size, the single chassis, and the demand for convenience over complexity. And so consequently, a lot of soundbars sacrifice musical fidelity in favor of big bass bombast. And honestly, that's what a lot of buyers go for. But we've always been disappointed with that design feature because, of course, it means every time you want to listen to music, you have to switch to a different sound system. The Devialet Dione is intended to remedy that shortcoming by more faithfully and energetically rendering music and soundtracks. I tested the $2,199 US Dione soundbar with Devialet's $199 remote control. We'll get to that in a little bit. The soundbar is named after, you're probably wondering, after the Greek goddess who was, according to legend, the mother of Aphrodite and the goddess of the sea. I wouldn't say the Dione. This one is mythical, but it's certainly worthy of the name. So what's in this soundbar? Let's go over some of the basic specifications and hardware components. There are 17 transducers in the box. That includes 9 full-range aluminum drivers and 8 aluminum subwoofers. And there's the orb, part of the unique design of this. It's a round ball that represents and reproduces the center channel and will actually rotate depending on whether you have it situated on a tabletop or on a wall mount installation. You can do either one. The whole package is 47.2 inches wide. That will fit under most 65-inch sets if they're up on legs. It's about 3.5 inches high though, and about 6.5 inches deep. It weighs just a little over 26 pounds. All of that is designed to support music, of course, and stereo, but also surround sound, in particular Dolby Atmos support for the 5.1.2 surround sound modes. It doesn't support the less popular DTS-X surround sound format, but Dione also has its own spatial mode where it does its own spatial surround sound to music. If you want it to do that, you can set it to do that. In terms of inputs and outputs, it has HDMI 2.1 support and eARC, which is the return audio channel that gives you high resolution sound as well. And it has wireless connections for Bluetooth, AirPlay if you must, and Wi-Fi. And it supports Spotify Connect, and it does not support an external subwoofer. Now, that might be something of a surprise to many people, but the frequency response of the Dione soundbar is such that it can deliver plenty of low end when you need it. In fact, it goes down to about 24 hertz up to 21 kilohertz. So that kind of frequency response means you don't really need it. And after all, if you have to go and get a soundbar, well, then you might as well start putting together an entire surround sound package, as it were. It has lots of power and volume too, lots of sound pressure level. You won't be wanting for that in even a room. We put it in a very large room for one set of testing, and it filled that room without any problem because it has 950 watts of power. It uses what the company makes are these hybrid amplifiers, Class A and Class D, to give it a particular kind of sound quality, which it certainly has. And it's definitely efficient. You don't need a lot to drive this soundbar. You get 101 dB sound pressure level at about 1 meter, so that's its rating, just to give you the overall specifications. So what does all that mean when it comes to actually listening to music and soundtracks from this soundbar? Devialet certainly delivers the necessary bass, so there's no question about that, but unlike other soundbars and many surround sound systems, it doesn't overdo it. Many competitors, for example, pump out so much lower end that you can feel the thumping several floors away. Devialet does not make that mistake, and it delivers a much more balanced sonic profile. It's very much centered on vocals. It has a narrower presentation when you have it in the music mode in terms of soundstage, and it emphasizes sort of upper mid-range and lower bass lines, de-emphasizing for some ears that mid-range sound. It's almost like a French response, this is a French company, to British speaker designs, as it were, which tend to overemphasize, sometimes people feel, the mid-range. So some musical examples, since we're emphasizing musicality of the Devialet soundbar. Let's start with a little Lucinda Williams, Car Wheels on a Gravel Road. This is an album that I actually saw her perform live when the album first launched, so I really have it burned into my brain what the sonic profile should be. It's pretty focused on the mid-range here with a lot of her voice, and her voice comes across on this soundbar as very center-focused. A medium width, I would say, to the soundstage. Not overly wide, it's not trying to mimic or synthesize some surround sound setting for you. It keeps it pretty realistic and doesn't overdo it. And then occasionally there's some upper transients or notes that do sort of jump out, and that would be like the shake of a tambourine that might be suddenly placed to the left or right. You will certainly notice that. But the vocals are dead center, and anything within that frequency range tends to focus in the center of the mix as well. On the other hand, the separation of the instrumentation is remarkably crisp and precise, and they definitely did a great job keeping those voicing separate. It's what keeps like the rhythm guitar apart from the mandolin, or electronic treatments apart from the bass guitar. You can follow them individually if you want. The soundbar does a great job there. What I found generally, and again, maybe because a French company is thinking about particular genres of music, it really, really is suited to jazz, I have to say, over the weeks of listening to movies and soundtracks and music. Jazz would be the profile I'd give it, especially on a cloudy afternoon. Some jazz playlists sound perfect on this. A couple of examples: Henry Threadgill, album from the 80s, Easily Slip Into Another World. Great record if you haven't heard it. Much wider soundstage here. The percussion is nicely spread out. A really good focus on the individuation. A really nice feeling of Fred Hopkins, his stand-up bass. It's like you can hear that acoustic bass and feel the vibrations of the strings, and even the complex percussion work is nicely differentiated here. Again, it's that balance in the bass, nice low end, but not too much. And even the trombone work, some brass work. Frank Lacey really comes out as cheerful as intended. So a great profile for that. Even if you're into a little bit more obscure transient sort of ambient music, as it were. John Hassel's The Surgeon of the Night Sky is another album. Excellent high-res version on Cobez and very expansive. Again, with the trumpet really soaring through this soundbar, which is quite a surprise. If you're used to listening to surround sound systems, it's not something they're particularly good at. This one is. Even the chimes and the percussion instruments, again, those very faithfully reproduced, and it gives you that immersive feeling that the music was going for. Another strength of the Dione soundbar is that it's really good with piano work, whether it's Ben Folds or Benjamin Britten. I was listening to Beethoven's Opus 109, a new version featuring Icelandic pianist Olafsson, if you've heard of him. Definitely benefited here, very much so, from this particular sonic profile. The upper registers really jump out at you, and above, almost floating there. It's as if the 88 keys of the keyboard were spread across the entire width of 47 inches of this soundbar. It's quite a positive effect, I have to say. Now, all this, remember, is rendered using DSPs and a fair amount of sound manipulation to get a soundbar to produce music like this. Does it work 100% of the time? Not always. And unfortunately, you can't tweak the sound using any kind of EQ from the smartphone app, for example. That's on purpose. The people at the company, um, they think they have done the perfect job already, and no doubt spent hundreds and hundreds of hours getting this tuned exactly right. Occasionally, you're going to find something that doesn't quite sound the way you originally remember it. I'll give you an example here, something from the Moody Blues, Higher and Higher. It seemed like the stereo was very centered and narrow, but it was almost as if the DSP and the algorithms couldn't decide what kind of sonic profile it should be delivering, so the soundstage was a little indecisive at times. The chorus was kind of buried when it should come forward, and the cymbals had a lot more presence than they should. They dominated some of the mix at times. So that's just one out of hundreds and hundreds of tracks that didn't have a completely positive effect. So what about movies and soundtracks? So if you're thinking of Dolby Atmos support, that's critical to a soundbar of this quality at this price range, is what you'd expect. I listen to many, many movies using Dolby Atmos, and one of the critical things for many people is they have the subtitles on if you're one of those people, because many of the mixes or the sound system you're using, whether it's a full-fledged surround sound system, just isn't good at separating out that dialogue and putting it in the center where it's supposed to be. So Devialet does do that with this soundbar. It's an excellent job. I'll give you an example, like The Diplomat is kind of a guilty pleasure. That one's shot in Dolby Atmos. I never had to turn on the subtitles for that dialogue heavy show. Even with all the different things and machinations going on in the soundtrack, it was always clear and still able to deliver explosions with that kind of jarring, sudden sound burst of sound and sound pressure level. So it didn't sacrifice any of those pyrotechnics either. So if you're going to test soundtracks on a soundbar or a surround sound system, and you want to compare sort of music and then the kind of bombastic explosions, car crashes, sound effects like that, the things that drive Foley booth operators crazy, you want to listen to or watch the movie Baby Driver. Excellent example. It's directed by Eric Wright. And it features one of my favorite tracks from Queen, Brighton Rock. I won't give away the ending, but suffice it to say that that features heavily in the movie. The Dione certainly could handle the sound pressure levels here and the volume. You could fill a room and it never once flinched or gave any sign of clipping. And as loud as I could stand it in this movie. You still got the crashing steel and squealing tires and appropriately striking effects that would make anyone happy to hear that in a surround sound system. And you got the musicality, so when the music comes back to the fore in that movie, you still can appreciate that as well. So it was a good balance, again, of musicality and being able to deliver on that Dolby Atmos soundtracks. So what about that remote control that I mentioned earlier on, the $199 remote control? It's as unique as this soundbar in the sense of its design. As you see, it's a round design, circular design. It's intended to stay pretty much on the coffee table. You don't need to pick it up. You can actually reach over and spin the dial to turn the volume up and down or mute the sound, if you will. I found that actually really convenient and grew to like it more than the sort of plastic candy bar style remote controls that automatically come with every device you get. So a lot of thought went into this. I like it very much. It's rechargeable and it's comfortable to use. You can pick it up if you want and have it in your hand. But if you don't want to use the remote if you're on a budget, which is understandable because for remote it's a little expensive, there is a free app that comes, smartphone app that comes with the system, and you can use that to adjust the volume as well as music sources, music setting, music spatial or voice. There's even a night mode. They call it a so-called bass reducer mode, so you get the idea. And you can assign these modes individually to different inputs if you want, although it recognizes it automatically usually. That being said, there's no EQ setting. Again, I mentioned that earlier. A disappointment for some people, but I didn't really miss it at all, I have to say. And there is a room calibration automatic adjustment, so use that before you start off. If you're looking for a soundbar that's going to spend more than half its time playing music rather than Marvel blockbuster movies, then the Devialet Dione is the soundbar for you. Its precise voicing and exceptional highs and lows mean it offers more musicality than many surround sound systems, even ones that use multiple speakers. And if you're more of a Monk than Monkeys fan, this is the soundbar for you. Now, if you like this video and find these reviews helpful, please, of course, hit the like button and consider subscribing to the Absolute Sound video channel. More of it, better still, subscribe to the Absolute Sound magazine. We still love print. For the Absolute Sound, I'm John Quayne.